And we're back now on WZOE and PrincetonNewsNow.com as we continue with our greatest comeback series. Father Daniel Gifford from St. Louis Catholic Church in Princeton. Father Gifford, thanks for joining us today. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on.
I bet you're glad to have folks back in church now, even if it's on a limited basis, just to be able to see those parishioners' faces again in church has to make you feel good.
Oh, it's such a gift. I can't tell you how awesome it is. And you know, it's interesting because we've been back inside for a few weeks now. It's almost starting to feel like we're getting in the rhythm or flow of our new way of doing things, but also just back in the habit of having people there in person. As I think back to a few weeks back when we were first having people able to be physically present at the Mass again, even just the experience of hearing the responses, hearing them spoken back to me. I in the moment, I wasn't ready for what a powerful and really beautiful moment that was after really 3 months of more or less quarantine. So yeah, it's a blessing.
It's a situation, too, where I know that when you were doing it on Facebook Live and YouTube and the ways that you were doing it, basically respecting the social distancing, it was important still to get that word out. But it must have been unusual or just a strange feeling for you to be doing what you would normally do again in front of a church full of people. And all of a sudden you're doing it in front of basically a camera or a phone.
Oh, I also can't communicate adequately what a shock that was to suddenly make that shift. We just did the best we could to adapt and to do the best we could with each moment. And, you know, when I first made the announcement that it come from the diocese, and I didn't see it coming, that public masses would be suspended. In hindsight, maybe I should have, but I was still shocked along with a lot of the people. And so at that time I said, you know, just speaking off the cuff, I said, I really hope to be able to share something with you via online media this weekend. So if you have the ability to look into that, and I was so blessed that right away we were able to start. First, we just did a recorded Mass, and then, you know, early that first week, we were able to start live streaming. And so we're really blessed with how we were able to make the most we could with what we had in the moment. So
yeah, not only has it, I'm sure it's been great for you to be able to see the folks again, but I've got a feeling that you got a lot of positive feedback from your parishioners as well.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. People are very, very happy to be back.
Father, why don't right now go over some of the Mass times? Because obviously we're not totally back to quote-unquote normal, but we'll get to the Mass times here in just a second. But I guess the other question that pops into my head even before that is, what exactly is the ratio or the percentage right now? Is it 25%? Is it 50%? How full can you fill the church?
Yeah, good questions. Our capacity is one of our volunteers who's responsible for helping to coordinate the seating with social distancing use the analogy of like the game of Tetris, right? Because of course families don't have to social distance from each other, and it just depends on how you put the Tetris pieces into place, right? In terms of, okay, if you fit a family of 4 on this end of the pew, you can probably fit a family of 2 on this end of the pew, and if there's 3 singles, they can probably space out along the pew, and so there's so many variables that it's hard to predict for sure what the actual capacity will be. But basically, we said between 20 to 25%, and for our church that amounts to 70 to 90. And we do have the ability. We're set up the first moment we need it to be able to have an overflow in the hall where they can watch the Mass live streamed. And then someone will bring communion to them at the appropriate time. So we can fit even a little more with the overflow. So
I know some churches have where people need to call ahead and reserve a spot, basically. Do you have that, or can people just kind of show up and come in?
We do have that for our weekend Masses. And again, that goes back to that it's so hard to predict what will happen with the seating, and really the way I understand the primary reason for why we have this sign up is that one of my absolute top motivations is, given that we do have a limited capacity and that with our limitations we can't just sort of let people stand up in the back of the church like we would have done on, you know, many a Christmas Mass, for example. I absolutely didn't want to turn anyone away, you know, and so So to say, okay, we're asking you to sign up, and then we'll actually plug you into a seating chart. Our administrative assistant very generously took the initiative to put together a seating chart as she receives those reservations, and we can guarantee you'll have a seat. So that's why we do that.
Okay, now what about the Mass days and the times, if you wouldn't mind passing those along?
Yeah. So our weekend Mass schedule is back to almost exactly what it was. We had to spread out the 3 Masses on Sunday because we have to make time for the cleaning of the church in between. So we have a 4 p.m. on Saturday, and then on Sunday we have 7:30, 9:30, and 11:30. And then we do still have daily Mass as well, which is 5:15 on Monday and Thursday, and those evening Masses are preceded by a holy hour of Eucharistic adoration with confessions, and the people pray a rosary during that time as well. And then the other days, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday, it's 7 a.m.
And of course, people can also get that information online. I know you got a great social media presence there. You got Facebook, and also your website is very extensive as well, and updated as well with the latest.
Yeah, we've had to do our best to stay updated because things have been changing by the day, by the minute, by the hour ever since March. So
Right, exactly. One of the big situations and the big debates going on in our world today is whether or not to wear masks. You got a lot of people who are diehard for it, people who are diehard against it. We've even seen physical altercations in some cases over that. Did the Catholic Church, do they have a position on wearing masks?
As far as an official church position, I think that is the closest we have to that is the regulations that we've been given by the diocese and to sort of fine tune for our parish. And that does involve asking people to wear the mask basically at any time when they wouldn't be able to social distance from members of other households. So when they come in, when they leave, and it is a challenging dynamic, absolutely, because you have some people who are very adamantly opposed and some people who are uncomfortable or even offended when those around them aren't wearing a mask. So it's impossible to please everyone, right? Thankfully, we've had some difficult moments, but even those difficult moments, people have been they've been understanding. I think people generally understand that regardless of how I feel about it, my motivation for doing this should be to keep others safe and to be respectful of others. Even in the moments where there maybe is potentially uncomfortable encounter, it ends up resolving in a way that renews my faith in people's ability to just set their own thinking aside for just long enough to be respectful of someone else, and that's an awesome thing.
Kind of touch on your history. First of all, I want to talk about your time at St. Louis Church here in Princeton. Tell us how long you've been there, and also I want to say new, but you're not really new. You've been there for a few years, but let's face it, there are parishioners you could be there 30 years and they'll still call you and think of you as the new priest at the church because they spent so many years with a priest before you. So do you feel like the new priest at St. Louis, and how long have you been there?
That's a great question. I often love to point out this fact, this one little detail that's just, it's almost a silly little anecdote. But when I came here, so this was my 4th assignment. I had 3 other assignments before that. Those were all short assignments. They were all 2 years or less. And in fact, I will have been here for 3 years on August 21st. August 21st was when I arrived in 2017. This is the longest I've been in one place. And my previous assignment, I was there for 14 months. However, my predecessor here at St. Louis, Father Sterneman, was the pastor here for 14 years. So
right.
So that's is just sort of part of what contributed to that kind of new guy feeling that, even after 3 years, it's hard for me to wrap my head around sometimes that, like, it doesn't feel like I've lived here longer than I lived in those previous assignments. But in reality, that's how long it's been.
When did you know you wanted to make this your vocation?
Great question. So ultimately, one point we always made in seminary. Seminary is a 7-year process for me. It's usually between 4 to 8 years, depending on, the timing and situation of when you enter and how much schooling you still have. But we make the point through seminary that the moment you know for sure that you're called to be a priest is when your nose hits the marble. In other words, on the day of your ordination, right?
Right.
And so it really is a process of discernment, growing in prayer, so that in my relationship with the Lord, I begin to discover that, what is a vocation? Vocation means call, right? A call from God. And so I can't call myself to anything. I have to learn to listen to God, the one who made me for himself and has a plan for my life, and ultimately that plan is geared toward my happiness and toward being all that I was made to be. And so thankfully, by the grace of God, with some good priests that I had the chance to get to know, as well as some friends, both peers and kind of older adult mentors in my teenage and early college years, I was really having the opportunity to grow to appreciate that I want to draw near to the Lord and to allow him to call me to whatever he wants to call me. So in my sophomore year of college, I was actually at a community college. I was just getting ready to transfer to a 4-year university and was pursuing education at the time. I'd had a long interest in teaching since I was very young in my own schooling, probably because of some of the great teachers I had. And both through different experiences I had with peers where I was able to walk with them in their journey of growing in the faith, and ultimately through prayer, I just began to recognize that the Lord was calling me to take this slight shift in direction that on one hand felt like a huge shift of direction and uprooting my whole life and plans, but on the other hand did on one level feel very natural, that my desire to teach, my desire to help people grow was being expressed and lived out in a different way in this vocation. So instead of transferring to that 4-year university, after 2 years, I transferred into seminary. Finished my bachelor's degree at 3 years of college seminary in Winona, Minnesota, at Immaculate Heart of Mary Seminary, which is at St. Mary's University in Winona, which is where I learned to call Minnesota a second home, go Vikings. And yeah, loved my time there, and then went on to 4 years of theology school, major seminary in Columbus, Ohio. And in 2012, I was ordained a priest and went on to serve as an assistant parochial vicar, as the official term, for 2 years at Epiphany Parish in Normal, and then left parish ministry for 2 years because the bishop asked me to go full-time campus ministry as one of the assistant chaplains at the University of Illinois, the Newman Center there in Champaign. And then after 2 years there, I loved campus ministry, but it was such a complete different ballgame from parish life. So I was so blessed that I knew the bishop was going to want to make me a pastor soon, and so I was so blessed that he first sent me to a smaller parish and a smaller Newman Center where I could still do the campus ministry that I love, but also reacquaint myself with parish life before moving here to Princeton, as it turned out. And that was at St. Mark's Parish and Bradley University Newman Center at Peoria.
Did you have a very religious upbringing?
Yeah, I did. We went to Mass every Sunday, and I remember a lot of the customs. I remember growing up going to Stations of the Cross, and one personal family custom I remember is Mom loved to rent a Jesus movie every Lent.
Wow.
Every Lent, and we pick a different one. And for Mom, it was like, we did Jesus of Nazareth last year. We're going to do JC Superstar this year, and so things like that. And everybody's family is unique. My family is all kind of in different directions and different places. But we did grow up going to Mass, and we did grow up with definitely that witness of learning what a relationship with God is. When I was a child, I would pray when I'd hear a scary noise in the house, and then while I was talking to God, I would remember I should pray for the poor as well.
Wow.
And that was my prayer life as a child. But with the help of family, and especially, as I said, when I became a teenager, having more peers as well as other adult mentors that really would help me to grow and deepen in my faith. So, yeah.
You know, that is a great thought, though. I think that more people should implement in that daily life as well. Every time you pray for yourself or something for yourself, pray for something for others as well. What a great idea. I would imagine that Deacon John Murphy, of course, longtime at St. Louis Church in Princeton, I would imagine that he would have been a help getting you acclimated to St. Louis Church.
Oh my goodness, yes. Deacon John is such a gift. Yes. I always say my only complaint about Deacon John is that there's only one of him.
Yes.
Because he's such a gift and so helpful that I lean on him very much, especially when I was brand new to the parish and also new to just being the man in charge, for lack of a better term, and being the only priest in the parish. And, you know, and I know that I feel at times that I ask a lot of him, but he's always very generous, and he's been a huge help to us. And you know, it's humbling because I remember when at a time that I was celebrating my anniversary of ordination, and he was celebrating his, and I, you know, I'm still less than 10 years ordained, and he's been ordained most of my life. That's a humbling thing, and so we're so blessed to have his experience, his generosity, his kindness, and his preaching. He's a gift. So. And
I would imagine that you've also got a group of people around you that help you on a daily basis as well.
Yeah, we really do. We really have an awesome staff. I lean on them, and I learn from them, and rely on their help and support as well. A staff and as well as a volunteer pool. I believe strongly in St. Paul. In one of my favorite letters of St. Paul is the first letter to the Corinthians, in which he talks about being one body with many parts, and that for one thing that helps with my stress level, right? To remember, oh yeah, that's right. I'm not supposed to do what the hand or the foot is supposed to do. Mm-hmm. I might have to communicate with the hand and foot to say, hey, how's this going, and offer input or seek input, and you know. But I really believe that while the Lord does call people to lead, we need people to lead in every sector of life and society, but especially within the church as well. But that He intends that many people doing their part and contributing their own personality as well as their own gifts is it's just how it works. And I'm so grateful that we have such a great parish where it's not all on me. The reason that this opportunity created itself isn't because of Father Gifford. It's because of the grace of God and the people of St. Louis Parish. So, yeah.
Give your thoughts on Bishop Daniel Genke, of course, a longtime bishop, and he is going to be stepping down. And not only your thoughts on Bishop Genke, but maybe his replacement as well.
Yeah, so Bishop Genke has been a gift to us, definitely. You know, he and I share a name, Daniel. You know, we bond over that sometimes. We Daniels got to stick together, and we bearded men got to stick together, and those things. You know, we also share a passion for education. Don't let me give the impression, oh, the bishop and I we're tight, you know. But he does seek to know his priests. He asks us to serve him, definitely in an appropriate way, but also to serve us, you know, and to have that fatherly relationship with us. And especially those of us who are among the priests that he ordained, we're going to miss him. He's been a gift to us in a lot of ways. And his wonderful preaching, too. We're going to miss that. And ultimately, when he retires, for lack of a better term, I don't know exactly when that's going to happen. I think it's going to depend a lot on his health. But when it happens, as I said, we'll miss him. As far as Bishop-elect Choka, soon to be bishop, I don't know him, and I'm very much looking forward to meeting him. I've had a lot of very positive first impressions. He's already sort of shown himself to be a man who is humble and is hardworking and desires to work alongside the priests and the people of the diocese, you know, coming from outside the diocese. I think people in Illinois kind of get this because we're used to the dynamic between Chicago and the rest of the state. But it might seem like, oh, he's from your neighborhood. He's from Chicago. No, the fact that he's from Chicago shows that he's really not from our neighborhood, you know. But that's not to be said in a negative way. It's that you can tell that he recognizes that he's stepping into unfamiliar territory. From what I've seen, he's responded to that with a kind of grace and humility that has given him the opportunity to expressed that desire to want to get to know the diocese. One thing that I was incredibly grateful for is before he had even moved here, he had a Diocese of Peoria email address set up and sent it to all the priests so that we could reach out to him. And then when I reached out to him, one of the things I acknowledged and thanked him for is in that introductory video in which he introduced himself to us, just in a passing comment, he expressed that desire to want to get to know the diocese and said, I imagine I'll be driving around the vast geographical distance that is the Diocese of Peoria. And I just said, thank you for that, for expressing that desire to want to get to know the diocese and to work with us. And so I haven't met him yet. I actually will have the opportunity to meet him next week. And so I'm very looking forward to getting to know him and working with him and serving him. So.
Anything else you'd like to add while we got you on the air this morning, Father?
Nothing in particular other than thank you for your assistance with being able to broadcast our Mass at noon every Sunday. I know that that's been a help to some people. We did a lot during the shelter-in-place period online and did our best to reach out to parishioners on the phone, making a lot of phone calls and things. But we knew that a lot of people were sort of outside of that loop because not everybody has a computer even, and even if they do, they don't necessarily go online. And a big part of me as a pastor says, if you don't have that in your life yet, I don't necessarily want to recommend it,
Exactly.
And so to be able to make the Mass available in another format has been a huge, huge blessing. So thanks for your assistance with that.
Well, and thank you, because, we've gotten a lot of positive feedback on that. People definitely appreciate it. And, Father, say someone is listening and they're interested in either becoming a part of the church or contacting you. What's the best route to do that?
Our parish website or our email or call, either one, and we'll set up an appointment. And especially given our current circumstance, if that can be a phone appointment. But we also, if anyone is curious, one of the things I've been working hard on is that even our meeting spaces, whether meeting one-on-one or in a group, that we're setting up and making that a socially distant arrangement where people can have that sense of safety and comfort. So I'd love to meet with anyone face-to-face. I'd love to talk with anyone on the phone. Yeah, that's always the first step is let's meet and let's talk.
Like I said before, you got a great Facebook page. Your website is stlouisprinceton.org. Your office phone is 815-879-0181, and your email is stlparishoffice@gmail.com. Father Gifford, thank you so much for spending time with us. It's been very enlightening. It's been enjoyable having a conversation with you, and hope to talk to you again soon.
Likewise. Have a great day.
That is Father Daniel Gifford from St. Louis Catholic Church in Princeton. This is the greatest comeback in WZOE and PrincetonNewsNow.com.